The year was 1923. As the cultural and commercial center of the region, York, Pennsylvania, was booming. Department stores like the Bon-Ton, Wheat's, Bears, and Jack's drew residents from all over the county to downtown York. The Lincoln Highway, the nation's first transcontinental highway serving the burgeoning automobile culture, passed through the heart of the downtown. York already had many hotels serving the community. The National House on West Market Street had been open for more than 90 years. A few blocks west stood the City Hotel, also predating the automobile era. One of the more modern additions to the hospitality landscape was South George Street's Hotel Brooks, which opened in 1914. Two of the larger hotels were the Hotel Penn, which stood where the York County Judicial Center stands today, and the Colonial Hotel on Center Square, which is today known as Continental Square. But the York Chamber of Commerce was worried that there weren't enough hotel rooms for the growing community. Complicating matters further was the arrival of the modern, new Penn Harris Hotel in Harrisburg, which was beckoning travelers away from York to the state capital. The Chamber formed the Citizens Hotel Committee to determine what could be done, including the potential expansion of the Colonial Hotel or Hotel Penn. Ultimately, however, they decided that a new hotel was necessary. This new hotel would be funded by the community, and on March 31st, 1924, a sales campaign begun. Lasting just 7 days, the campaign raised $1,175,000 from nearly 1,200 stakeholders, and the Community Hotel Company of York, PA, was born. A site on East Market Street at South Duke Street was selected, and construction began in October 1924. 1 year later, the hotel opened to rave reviews in October 1925. A special edition of the Gazette and Daily was published to commemorate the birth of York's tallest building, which was constructed of 500,000 common bricks and 121 carloads of cement and sand. Early naming suggestions included the Phineas Davis, in honor of a well-known York inventor. Ultimately, the name Yorktown was selected as the community was rapidly approaching the 150th anniversary of the Second Continental Congress meeting in York, back when the frontier community was known as Yorktown. The newly opened 200-room hotel included a main dining room, coffee shop, haberdashery, gift shop, and barber shop, among other amenities. This image from the Gazette and Daily showcases the construction process. The designer of the Hotel Yorktown was William Lee Stoddart, a New York City architect who designed hotels throughout the United States. Many of these hotels were for the American Hotels Corporation, an operator who was hired to manage the Yorktown. The hotels featured a similar appearance, demonstrated by the now demolished Hotel Charlotte, which was built 1 year before completion of the Yorktown and demolished in 1988. To the south of York, the Lord Baltimore Hotel was a much larger building designed by Stoddart, and it still functions as a hotel today. In Charleston, South Carolina, the Francis Marion Hotel is in some ways a companion to the Yorktown and also still functions as a hotel today. And as for the Penn Harris Hotel in Harrisburg, its design was very similar, but it would not enjoy the same fate as the Yorktown. It was demolished in 1973. Architecturally, the Yorktown and other Stoddart hotels were designed in the Italian Renaissance style, which is sometimes referred to as Renaissance Revival, and was very popular in the early 20th century. Williamport's Lycoming Hotel, today known as the Genetti, opened in 1921 and featured yellow brick. Hanover, Pennsylvania's McAllister Hotel, opened 1 year after the Yorktown, but was later converted to housing. During the Roaring '20s, the Yorktown was booming. In fact, almost as soon as it opened, discussions about expansion began. One early concept entailed an addition to the south, along the Duke Street side. However, when a property immediately to the west became available, plans for a Market Street expansion were drawn. The addition was completed in 1929, expanding the ballroom, creating a new club room, which was later known as the Mirror Room, and adding an additional 53 rooms. Lost in the expansion, however, was the symmetry of the front facade. The Yorktowne has been home to many community groups and clubs over the years. Among these, the Rotary Club of York has enjoyed the longest tenure, beginning in 1925, 2 weeks after the hotel opened. Throughout its history, the Yorktowne has been the nucleus of the community, and it often changed with the times. After Prohibition was repealed, one of the first local establishments to legally serve alcohol was the Georgian Lounge, located in the Yorktowne. After the bombing of Pearl Harbor drew the United States into the Second World War, community leaders met at the nearby Manufacturers Association building to hatch the York Plan, which became a national model for converting factories for wartime production. The plan was then managed from the Yorktowne. By the 1950s, the city of York was reaching its population peak. More department stores like Sears, Roebuck and Company, as well as J.C. Penney, had opened on Market Street, and business at the Yorktowne was flourishing. Plans for another expansion were discussed and came to reality with completion of a new addition in 1957. A small two-level parking garage had been constructed along Duke Street in 1930. This structure was demolished to make room for a much larger parking garage and an expansion of 65 guest rooms. Constructed by R.S. Noonan, the $800,000 expansion utilized vertical aluminum siding, a common approach to architectural expression during the mid-20th century. Even the postcard from the era downplays the historic appearance in favor of a more shiny, new look. The main dining room was renovated and became the Wedgwood Room, and a popular new destination was created, the Covered Bridge Room. Featuring carriages for booths and an exposed wood-beam ceiling, the Covered Bridge Room hosted a mug club with 1,300 numbered mugs on the ceiling. Dwight Eisenhower and Richard Nixon were members of the club. By the late 1950s, the coffee shop along East Market Street was seeing more than 400 daily guests for breakfast and lunch. But change was upon York. Suburban development around the perimeter of the city began, resulting in construction of the York County Shopping Center, which drew Sears away from the downtown, and later the York Mall, which was anchored by a relocated J.C. Penney. The North Mall also drew merchants and shoppers away from the downtown. During this period, guest rooms were modernized, as evidenced by these photos from a 1966 publication of the Chamber of Commerce. One of the ways that the Yorktowne tried to sustain customers was creation of Colonial Days, a motor coach-oriented program that brought guests to the Yorktowne for tours of York and Lancaster, or York and Gettysburg. Upon arrival, guests were met by a red carpet, with George Washington, General Anthony Wayne, and the Marquis de Lafayette greeting them. Of course, these figures were none other than hotel management. In the 1970s, the hotel briefly flirted with the name Yorktowne Motor Inn, but it didn't stick. The popular coffee shop was converted into the Boom Boom Room, a short-lived venue that featured serving staff dressed similar to Playboy bunnies. To keep rooms filled, 2 floors became dormitory housing for York College students. The Yorktowne was at a crossroad. Instead of falling victim to the wrecking ball or becoming an apartment facility like other hotels managed by the American Hotels Corporation, the Yorktowne turned the corner and began an aggressive renovation campaign, ensuring its place as an anchor of the local community. Initially, the lobby and Wedgwood Room were renovated, followed by the guest rooms, which saw the return of more traditional furniture instead of the Jetsons look of the 1960s. In the early 1980s, the Covered Bridge Room, Georgian Lounge, and Terrace Room were converted into autographs. A new guest room concept was created by combining 2 rooms into one, creating a sitting room and a sleeping room. This suite concept may be popular today, but was ahead of its time in 1982 when 100 rooms were combined to make 50. In 1989, the Wedgwood Room became the Commonwealth Room. 2 years later, an innovative ice storage system was installed for energy-efficient building cooling, and in 1993, a fitness center was added. That same year, the lobby was renovated again, creating the appearance of today. Beginning in 1995, a massive flag adorned the roof, standing 180 feet above street level. And then, in 2003, Autographs was renovated and became off-center grill, with sidewalk dining added along East Market Street. Throughout the 9 decades of its existence, the Yorktowne has seen continual change. Perhaps the biggest change to the Yorktowne throughout its history occurred on November 6, 2016, when the hotel closed its doors. This was not the end of the Yorktowne, but rather the dawn of a new era. In late 2015, the York County Industrial Development Authority began negotiating the purchase of the Yorktowne Hotel. In recent years, the YCIDA has been the steward of critical projects within the City of York, including the development of People's Bank Park and Market View Arts. The authority was concerned about the worsening condition of the building and also wanted to prevent a new owner from coming in and either underutilizing the space or, even worse, having a building use that could negatively affect the downtown. In autumn 2016, the YCIDA retained York-based New Tech Design and JDB Engineering to provide architectural and engineering services for the revitalization of the Yorktowne. The team also includes hotel and mixed-use specialist BHC Architects, Kinsley Construction, and GF Management. To the casual observer, the Yorktowne is beautiful, historic, and in great shape. Prior to the hotel's temporary closing, any visitor was greeted by the attractive lobby, which looked quite historic but was actually renovated many times throughout the hotel's existence. The lobby of the 21st century would actually be unrecognizable to hotel visitors from just a few decades ago. The ballroom has been largely unchanged throughout its 90 years and has always been a focal point of the hotel. In fact, so many residents and visitors alike have great memories of the ballroom. Weddings, receptions, events, meetings, and the list goes on. The ballroom is known as the Continental Room and George Washington Room, while the adjacent space, which was part of the 1929 expansion, is known as the Mirror Room. But outside of the lobby and ballroom, many people with robust Yorktowne memories have never actually ventured beyond these spaces. The third floor featured underutilized meeting space, including the Yorktowne Boardroom and other meeting areas with names like the Lafayette Room, Conestoga Room, and Lancaster Room. Above this space are podium, stand the guest rooms, renovated many times throughout the years and offering a trip to a bygone era. But the number of usable guest rooms has dropped significantly over the years, down from the peak of 300 rooms in the late 1950s. These are the rooms you don't see. The building envelope is failing, allowing water penetration. The roof leaks, and the exterior masonry and mortar have allowed the elements to seep deeply into some spaces. Even the 8th floor corridor shows signs of water damage. Under previous ownership, the building was neglected and maintenance deferred, leading to extensive deterioration. Some rooms have been left alone for decades. They are old, tired, and in many cases, damaged. Even the office areas on the lower level are demonstrating signs of aging and damage. Look closely at the exterior and you'll notice entire chunks of cornice and balustrade missing. Bricks are pulling away from the main structure, and mortar is porous and even missing in many places. The Yorktowne may be a beauty, but she's in desperate need of a facelift. The parking garage was closed in 2014 due to major structural issues that impact the integrity of the 1957 guest room expansion. The basement is a maze of rooms and equipment, some still working, some long since abandoned. Early in its history, the Yorktowne was on the city's central steam system. And yet, the views of York City and the surrounding York Valley are like no other. In 1978, the Beaux-Arts Ball was held in the ballroom and on the roof. Excitement built for having some sort of rooftop venue, but the grand ideas were soon abandoned due to structural issues, lack of elevator access to the roof, and the distance from the hotel kitchen to the roof. Codes have changed greatly since the Yorktowne was built in the 1920s. Today, renovation projects require that buildings be brought to current codes for handicapped accessibility, structural integrity, energy efficiency, and more. The 1925 Yorktowne Hotel does not meet 21st century codes. Retention of historical elements will be an important component of the project, but this also creates a challenge. What era should be maintained or restored? As you can see here, the lobby has changed greatly over the years. Much of the wood paneling was not original to the building, but added later. These views from similar vantage points demonstrate the evolution of the lobby. This image showcases the drawing room, which was the eastern portion of the lobby, elevated on a platform above the lobby floor. Today's Commonwealth Room offers much historic charm, yet it looks different than the original main dining room, as well as the renovated Wedgwood Room. Again, wood trim and paneling have been added over the years, as have booths and the buffet column surrounds. Before design commenced, the YCIDA held an open community forum. On November 21, 2016, more than 150 people came together at Re-Envision the Yorktown to share ideas, opportunities, and challenges as the project moves forward. Attendees shared many thoughts, from creating a venue that can hold 300 people to rooftop amenities and even an outdoor swimming pool atop a new parking garage. They suggested more retail and restaurants and shared an interest in keeping the historic ballroom, among many other ideas, both large and small. Above all else, everyone seemed to agree that the Yorktown is a community gem that needs to regain its rightful place as the nucleus of the York community. Behind the scenes, the year of 2017 was very active for the Yorktowne Hotel. The project team worked throughout the year to develop the building program for this venerable lady. The York County Industrial Development Authority continued to manage the project while selecting a construction manager, hotel operator, and demolition contractor in the process. Several major events were held, including an auction of furniture, fixtures, and general memorabilia in May, a renovation celebration in July, and a sledgehammer event to symbolically begin demolition in September. In between, the YCIDA continued outreach to community groups like Better York, the Rotary Club of York, and Downtown Inc.'s quarterly update, while the City of York Police Department SWAT team used the unoccupied hotel for training. But how, exactly, will the Yorktown evolve? Plans developed throughout 2017 call for the demolition of the structurally deficient addition and parking garage dating from 1957. The historic Zion Lutheran property next door is being incorporated into the project, and the building's crumbling gymnasium will be demolished to provide new parking. One of the challenges facing Yorktown guests has been the one-way East Market and South Duke Streets, making navigation and parking difficult. The rejuvenated Yorktown will take advantage of a closed alley between the York County Administrative Center and the hotel, allowing guests to turn from East Market Street into a new arrival space in the rear of the building. This space will create an urban courtyard with fountain. From here, they can also access the adjacent new parking lot. This reconfiguration will create a new entrance on the south side of the building, defined by a monumental glass tower with elevator and stairs rising from street level to the roof. When it reopens, the Yorktown will boast more than 120 guest rooms, including 2 floors of extended stay lodging. Along East Market Street, spaces will include a new coffee shop, restaurant, and a retail or office tenant. Space for the reception desk will be recaptured, allowing for display of a 1926 mural that has been hidden from sight for several decades. The historic ballroom will be preserved, and new meeting areas will be created in adjacent space. Plans also call for creation of a rooftop lounge, something the public has been looking forward to for decades. Soon, everyone will be able to enjoy the best views in York. The Yorktowne Hotel continues to change and evolve with the times. With demolition of portions of the hotel in early 2018, the footprint may change, but the heart and soul of the York community is not going anywhere, only growing stronger. Stay tuned The excitement is just beginning.